Philadelphia, get ready to be inspired. If you need help finding the light in the darkness, don't touch that dial. Let's navigate life through the lens of hope with Scotty P. Inspirational speaker Scotty P speaks the importance of mental health in society and encourages techniques to overcome the everyday mental health obstacles that hold us back in life. It's not just inspiration, it's Scotty P inspiration.
What's going on, everybody? This is Scott Prendergast here, the host of yours truly, the Scotty P Inspiration Show. We are back. We took a few weeks off. Admittedly, it was our spring break, but actually I was moving into a new place, so had a lot going on. But I'm thankful to be back today for another message with you to help you to navigate your life through the lens of hope. Super excited today, excited for this message, and excited for a couple changes. We're kind of shortening it up a little bit here because I really want to make this program something that you could just take, you listen to during your lunch break, during your study hall, during a couple free minutes at work, and then boom, you run with it and you apply these concepts to your life right now today. Okay, so we're going to do it a little bit shorter. I think it's going to be a pretty cool process. So I'm excited for it. We cut out the different halves and we're just going to go right into it for about maybe 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. We'll see where it goes and go from there. So for all of those of you who are just tuning in, and this is your first time, I'm Scott Prendergast. I'm your host, and this is the Scotty P Inspiration Show, where we're helping people navigate life through the lens of hope, overcome mental health obstacles, and just everyday struggles to rediscover the resilience within themselves. Yeah, let's go. All right, everybody. So you know me, I like to jump into things. But before we do that, of course, if you want to watch this show, you can go on my YouTube channel. That's Scotty P Inspiration. Watch it that way. You could go on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any major podcast platform, and you can search this show and watch it that way as well. Okay? So we got that out of the way. Let's get into the content because that's what we're all about here. Okay? Today's episode, I titled it this: Fixing a Broken Spirit. Now, if you know me, you know that I like to start with a quote. So the quote for today is this: if your heart is broken, make art with the pieces. I want to say that again. If your heart is broken, make art with the pieces. And this is a quote by a Canadian poet named Shane, I believe it is Koizan. Now, Shane, if you're listening, I'm sorry if I didn't say your last name right, but I love the words and I love what you said here. If your heart is broken, make art with the pieces. Wow, I absolutely love this because think about it. So many of us are walking around this life with broken hearts, right? So many of us, whether at some point in our life or for an extended period in our life, but we're walking around life with those broken pieces. But so many of us are walking around with broken spirits, right? Now, what is a spirit? Now, it depends on who you ask and what that term means. But for the sake of this episode, when I say spirit, what I mean is kind of just your will to be who you are, your will to move forward in life, your will to try again, to get back up, to be resilient, and to not let this life beat you down. That's really what I mean by spirit, the human spirit, the spirit that keeps you energized throughout the day, that helps you to not be bitter and not be jaded, right? That's what I talk about when I'm saying spirit in this particular episode today, okay? Now, how does this happen? How do so many of us end up with a broken spirit, unable to move forward, unable to have any passion for life, and we just feel like that fire's burnt out on the inside of us, and we're just in autopilot mode, just walking through the day. We don't care what happens. We're just this, we're that. We're just done, right? How do we get to a place where that spirit becomes broken like that? Well, you and I both know, anybody listening to this show, that a broken spirit doesn't happen overnight, right? A broken spirit happens over the years of perceived failures, years of disappointments, years of things not working out, years of rejection. And over time, all of this, if not properly addressed by us, many times it leads to a broken spirit. And when our spirit is broken, that leads to atrophy of our resiliency. Right? And if we have a broken spirit and we're losing our resiliency, then how are we going to be able to achieve anything that we want in this life? How are we going to be able to live the type of life that we want to live? Well, it's going to be pretty difficult. It's going to be really difficult. Now, naturally, the question is, okay, Scott, how do we fix a broken spirit? What do we do so that if we're dealing with this, we move through it, we move past it, and we kind of rediscover that passion within ourselves and live our life the way that we want to live it instead of just being in autopilot mode? So how do we do this? Well, And depending upon who you ask, there is a lot of different answers to that question. But for this particular episode today, my answer is this. We fix a broken spirit by stepping into what I call our pockets of peace. I'll say that again, our pockets of peace. Now, when I say pocket of peace, I don't mean some peace medallion that you hold in your pocket that says, yeah, man, make love, not war, 1960s, right? Yeah. No. That's not what I mean here. Okay, that's great. That's awesome. That is fantastic if you have something like that. But in this case, when I say a pocket of peace, it's not a medallion. It's not something physical, but rather it's a mindset. It is a state of mind that you enter. That's what a pocket of peace is. A pocket of peace is something that you step into where your insecurities, where your problems, where your failures, where your fears, where anything that you don't want to come with you gets checked at the door and cannot follow you in. That's what a pocket of peace is. It's that place where we go, where we can rest, where we can rejuvenate, and where we can reassess our situation. That's a pocket of peace, that mindset, that state of mind that we can enter where we can just let everything else, all the problems of life, all those different things that are causing us worry and stress, we could just leave that for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, however long it is for you. That's a pocket of peace. And that's a beautiful thing. Now, the thing about pocket of pieces, though, is that you have to make a conscious effort to step into them every day. And that's a lot easier said than done, right? Because especially when you're in the adult world and you're working, or if you're in college or even high school, whatever, you've got a lot going on in your life, right? You've got classes, you've got schoolwork. If you're out of school, you got bills to pay, you got a job, you got like relationships. There is so much going on in your life. It can feel almost impossible to ever step into even a 5-minute pocket of peace where you just are focusing on what makes you happy or something like that, right? That it can be so hard to do. But we've got to be intentional about it. Because if we're not intentional about it, guess what? We're always going to find an excuse. We're always going to find a reason as to why we can't enter that pocket of peace. Saying things like, oh, well, I'm too busy today, or I've got too much going on, or I'm too stressed out, or I can't take 10 minutes to myself because I got to be doing this report or doing this sales call or doing this or that. And I just don't have time for it. Sound familiar? And that's okay. That's no shame if that's you. That's everybody. That's why this is such a challenge. But when we can step into that pocket of peace, then that rest, that rejuvenation, that reassessment that comes with it, you know what that does? It helps us to strengthen our resiliency. Because a lot of times what happens is we get so burnt out in life for whatever the reason is, you name it, that resiliency, like I said before, starts to become atrophy. It starts to get weaker. And then when that resilience runs out, that's when autopilot mode just takes over, like I told you at the beginning. But by stepping into pockets of peace every day, making a conscious effort to rejuvenate ourselves in whatever way works, that's something right there that over time is going to lead to us rediscovering that spirit, rediscovering that resiliency, and getting that passion, that fire back again in life. And that's what pockets of peace do. Now, I've explained what a pocket of peace is. I've explained kind of what it looks like. But for you, what is a pocket of peace? Well, here's a couple examples. A pocket of peace could be, okay, let's say you get home from work, and before you start your other duties that you have to do or other things that have to go on, you say, okay, I'm going to take 30 minutes and I'm going to watch my favorite TV show. I'm going to put my phone in the other room. I'm not going to do anything. But for that 30 minutes, I'm going to watch that show and I'm just going to laugh. Or I'm just going to dream, or I'm just going to focus on this or that, right? That could be your pocket of peace. 30 minutes every day after work, you're watching that show, okay? Now, when you're watching that show, remember, none of your problems, none of your insecurities, none of that stuff can come with you. You just fully immerse yourself in that show, okay? Now, when you get out of that pocket of peace, whether you set a timer or whatever it is, guess what? Now, you've given your mind a little bit of time to just relax. A little bit of time to put down those worries, to put down that problem you keep mulling over, and just allow yourself to be in this state where you're not constantly anxious, where you're not running over this thought or that thought over and over and over again, right? And give your mind a chance to just kind of relax and just be chill for a few minutes, right? Because I think we all know when you're going through different things and you got a lot on your mind, even if you're not doing a lot physically, it's physically exhausting still. Because you're so in your head and you got so much going on that you just feel that tension and that stress in your head, your neck, your back, and you're like, oh my goodness, I feel like I just ran a marathon, even if you just sat at a desk all day. But when you make that intentional time to step into that pocket of peace, that 10 minutes, 20 minutes, hour, again, whatever it is for you, that's like recharging your battery. That's like melting that stress away for a little bit. And that helps you to then get out of that pocket of peace so that you can properly attack and assess whatever it is that you have to do next. Because here at Scotty P Inspiration, we're not about avoiding our problems. We're not out here making excuses. We're not out here saying, well, I don't want to do this, so I'm just going to watch TV all day because that's what Scott said. No. No. We're all about strengthening ourselves on the inside so that we can better attack and accomplish the things that we have to do. And that pocket of peace is a perfect way to rejuvenate, reassess, so that when we step out of that pocket of peace, boom, we are ready to go with the tasks at hand, with whatever life has thrown our way. And that's a pretty cool thing, knowing that we can enter that at any time and that we can handle this stuff. That instead of just saying, this is too much for me, this life is overwhelming, I can't do this, we can step into a pocket of peace for 30, 20, 17 minutes and then step out of it and say, okay, now I'm ready to go. I reassessed, I am ready now. And when we can do that as a human, that's a powerful thing. That gives us the power back and takes the power away from our situation. It gives us the power and us the strength instead of giving the anxiety, the depression, the sadness, the fear, the strength. And when we have the strength, we realize that we're so much stronger than anything that we might be encountering or fearing or going against. And when we realize that, look out, that's when we start to make some serious progress in our lives. So that's a pocket of peace, my friends. Okay. Now, one of the questions I get a lot, because I do this for one of my presentations, and I presented at a corporation recently, and I talked about this, and people are like, oh, this is awesome, I love it, but how do I get to a pocket of peace? I don't really know what mine is, but how do I even get to that? Well, I want you to think about it like this. Let's imagine that you're standing at the edge of a canyon, okay? Not the Grand Canyon, that'd be wild, but like maybe a smaller canyon, okay? Or a ravine, if you will. So you're standing at the end of this ravine and you look on the other side. And when you look on the other side, you see yourself in that pocket of peace. You see yourself laughing, you see yourself carefree, you see yourself running around just happy, right? And you're like, I want to get there. That's me. I want to be there. Now, as you look down, you'll see that there's a bridge from one end of the canyon to the other. Now, this bridge is made up of what I call emergency joys. Okay, now each one of these rungs on this bridge is a different emergency joy. Now, an emergency joy, for those of you that don't know, I say this a lot in my presentations and on my show, but for those first-time listeners, here's an emergency joy. They are those different positive coping skills that we turn to when we're in that really just low place, right? Where we're in that place where our spirit has been broken for a while, where we're in that place where we're just so unhappy and we feel like we haven't felt the sun in years, where we feel like we haven't felt anything good in years. It's on difficult, low, dark moments in our life like that. And I know that you know what I'm talking about, listeners. Yes, I do. It's moments like that, my friends, that we turn to these positive coping skills that we call emergency joys to give us a little bit of a spark, just a little bit, to get up off of our rock bottom and keep moving forward. Keep moving towards something. And that's something that we're moving towards, in this case, is a pocket of peace. Okay, so it kind of looks like this. You're at your rock bottom. You discover one of your emergency joys. It gives you a little bit of a spark. You get up off your rock bottom, and then you start walking forward. One emergency joy after another, after another, after another, and you're crossing this bridge, and then you get to what? You get to your pocket of peace. And you stay in that pocket of peace for maybe 5 minutes, maybe an hour, whatever works for you. Now, when you get out of this pocket of peace, are your problems magically gone? That's cute. No. But you're refreshed and you've got a new outlook. You've got new resilience, and you're ready to attack that issue, that problem, to get after it in the way that you need to, in a way to move through it. Okay, because now you've used your emergency joys, you've stepped into that pocket of peace, you've rested, you rejuvenate, you're reassessing, and you're ready to go and do what you need to do to work through that struggle. And that's a beautiful thing. So that's the relationship between how to get to a pocket of peace, what an emergency joy is, and the role that that plays into getting into a pocket of peace, and what we do after we get out of the pocket of peace. Okay? That's the whole kind of, I don't want to say lineage, but the whole line, if you will, of how this works. And I hope that's something that you, the listener, can take from this today and really apply to your life. And if you find yourself in that rock bottom, what can I do to get myself up out of that? How do I get into my pocket of peace? What is my pocket of peace? These are some of the questions that I want you to ask yourself today and start thinking of. Even if you're not in a low place, think about what these things are, so that the next time you are in a low place, guess what? You will have those emergency joys to turn to, you will know how to use them, and you will know how to recognize that you need to step into your pocket of peace. And that's really important. That self-awareness is huge, absolutely essential. Okay, so really hope that's something you were able to take from this first part of the message here. Now, as we're going a little bit deeper here, one of the things that I talked about quite a bit through that first part was resiliency. I brought that up and I said how resiliency is key. I talked about how, oh, sorry, I just hit the mic there a little bit. I talked about how our resiliency begins to experience atrophy if we're dealing with a broken spirit. So one of the things that's important here is that when we step into that pocket of peace, when we rejuvenate ourselves, what it also does is help us to really rediscover that resiliency. So that, like I said before, that we can use that resiliency to push through whatever we're going through in this life. Because friends, the reality is this. I don't know who's listening to this. I don't know where you are, but I do know this, and I can guarantee you this. I know that every single person right now listening to this is dealing with some type of struggle in their life that they feel is insurmountable. I don't know what that is, and I won't pretend to know what that is. Okay, but what I do know is that whatever this struggle is, and however difficult you may feel that it is, it's not insurmountable. Okay, and it's not something that needs to become all of your life when it's only meant to be a part of your life. That struggle is not your whole existence. It is one part of it. But if you look at it like it is your whole existence, then guess what? You're going to allow it to consume your whole existence. So we need to sometimes take a step back. And the best way to take a step back is stepping into that pocket of peace so that we can reassess and realize, man, look, this problem sucks. It's hard. This is difficult. I hate this. I feel like I've been dealing with this forever, but it is one part of me. It is not all of me. And sometimes that type of realization is all it takes for us to be able to get that resiliency back, to say, okay, let's go. I can do this. I can do this. 4 words that are very simple, but yet hold a lot of weight and a lot of power in them. And when we truly believe that, and when we say it, wow, that's when some pretty amazing things start to happen. Okay, so to really wrap up this episode today, I want to leave you, though, with one final little exercise that you can do after you're done watching this. Or you can do it now, or if you're listening to this, you can do it now, whatever you want to do, okay? Now, the exercise is this. I just call it a negative thought exercise. So what I want you, the listener, to do right now, or whenever you get the chance, is I want you to write down maybe 2 or 3 negative thoughts that you've been having consistently. Okay, now I don't mean, oh, Scott, I had a negative thought once, like 6 months ago. No, I'm talking about those sticky negative thoughts that I call them. Those negative thoughts that seem to pop up over and over and over again, okay? I want you to write down maybe 1, 2, 3 at max of those negative thoughts, all right? Now, once you've written down those negative thoughts and identified them, the next step to that is I want you to write down, what do I feel when I have thoughts like this? Okay, so you're going to write down the feelings that are associated when you have those negative thoughts, okay? In review, step number 1, write down 1 to 3 negative thoughts that reoccur in your life that you have a lot. Step 2, write down how those negative thoughts make you feel, okay? We're rolling here. That's step 1, step 2. Now, step 3 is going to be this. After you've written down those first 2 parts, for step 3, you're going to say, when I have these feelings, what do I need? Okay? And what I mean by this is essentially, when you're having feelings like this, what do you need to help you to work through this? What do you need? Do you need attention? Do you need someone to talk to? Do you need self-compassion? Do you need physical activity? Do you need a hug? What do you need? Okay? What do you need when you have these feelings based off of those negative thoughts? Okay? Now, for the final part, step 4 is going to be this. How do I meet that need? What action do I take to meet that need? All right, so let's go through it again. Step 1, write down 1 to 3 negative thoughts that you have that are consistent, that always seem to pop up. That's step 1. Step 2, write down the feelings that you have, that you feel when you have those negative thoughts. That's step 2. Step 3, write down what you feel that you need to work through these feelings when they come about. Okay? And step 4, ask yourself, how do I meet that need? What action do I take to meet that need? Now, when we do this little exercise, this isn't just for kicks and giggles. That is fun. No. We do this exercise as a way to become more self-aware and for us to learn to take action against difficult thoughts and feelings and emotions instead of letting these difficult thoughts and feelings just completely consume us. Okay, so by identifying it and learning to take action, what have we done? We've allowed ourselves to break free from the consuming grip that these negative thoughts and feelings have on us. Okay, so that's just a little exercise that you can do, but I find this exercise is tremendously helpful. I've done it multiple times myself and with a lot of people I work with life coaching. I do this all the time, and the feedback is always great because, as simple as it is, it really makes a difference, especially when you do this on a consistent basis. Okay, that's what's key, consistency with this. So everybody, I want to wrap up and leave you with this today. We talked about so much when it comes to stepping into your pockets of peace, learning to fight back, rediscovering that resilience within ourselves. But I will end with this. No matter what it is that you're facing today, you have an internal choice. All right, and a lot of times externally, we can't control certain things that happen, but there's a lot more control when it comes to internally what we're going to do. And with that choice that you have today, I want you to consider the possibility of recognizing that whatever you're going through is not all of you. Like I said earlier, whatever you're going through, no matter how difficult it is, how insurmountable it is, I want you to open up your mind to the possibility, to the idea that, hey, look, this is just one part of my life, not all of me. And allow yourself to recognize that, and allow yourself to realize that you have what you need to be able to work through this, no matter how difficult it seems. But you have to give yourself permission to not only say, but truly believe that I can do this. Give yourself permission to do that, and use what we talked about today to get yourself to that position to say that. And if you do that, you're going to be on your way to working through the difficulties in your life. Not getting rid of them, but working through them. And that's a powerful thing. So thank you so much again, everybody, for tuning into another episode of the Scotty P Inspiration Show. Super appreciative. I thank you for all the tuning in, listening, watching, whatever you did. Thank you. I hope you could get something positive from it today. So I will see you all later. Coming at you again next week with more content. Have a good one. This is Scotty P signing off.